Welcome to the E-Pathashala lecture series. This is on the subject called computer science and we are talking about the paper data structures. This particular module we are going to talk about some interesting applications of the QADT, just like we spoke about other ADTs and their applications. In this module we are going to talk about the QADT. Now let us look at some of the people who contributed to this module. So these are some of the people who are responsible for creating this module for you. Now let us look at the learning objectives of this particular module. The learning objectives are to discuss the different applications of Q, which is what the module is about, and to understand the use of Q, we are sort of doing a little slightly differently here, where we are looking at Q for certain types of jobs, and here we are looking at printing jobs and customer service for any particular application it could be. Then we are looking at a simulation, a very interesting simulation of use of Q for breadth first search. Okay, so that is another application we are looking at, and we are going to look at another very interesting application of using Q for encoding messages. This is a typical application, encryption and those type of issues we will be using this. Some of the keywords that we are discussing here would be customer service, printing job, breadth first search and coding messages. Each of this application has a particular concept associated with it. So, when I say customer service, it is a concept, it could be for any application. Printing jobs again is a type of servicing concept. Breadth first search is where I want to traverse in a different way, and coding messages is how I want to, depending on the particular coding application, how I want to use a queue there. So, let us look at the applications. So, queues are used in applications which require servicing in the order of arrival, because queue is first in first out. So, in a normal servicing application or in a normal service in everyday life, in a bank or in a billing counter of a supermarket, you are expected to be serviced in the order in which you came into the queue. As you see, a lot of fights happen because it is not kept that way. So, this is basically the use of queue in such applications. For example, customer servicing for any application, it could be printer, it could be banking, it could be any application where people stand in a queue to get serviced. So, customer servicing. Operating system, here memory allocation is where one place where queues are extensively used. In fact, a particular type of queue that we already saw called priority queues used here. Then we have a round robin scheduler. Here we have the scheduler coming in one after the other we want to do. So, scheduling is another place where queue automatically comes into the picture, and then it is also used as a buffer where the order of processing is dictated by the first in first out. All cases it need not be like that, but if you want the processing to be done in first in first out, then the buffer would be in the form of a queue. So, here we have breadth first search and encoding messages. In these two type of applications we are using it for buffering. In the first three applications we are using it as for servicing in the first in first out order. So, both cases first in first out is what we want, but one we are using it as a buffer, one we are using it as a servicing queue. Now, let us look at the applications one by one. So, the most common application is in client server models, where you have a client and the client is serviced one by one, and multiple clients may be requesting services from one or more servers. This is a computer science application of queue. As I told you in the beginning of when we started queue in the module, I said that there are some very important applications of queue in computing itself. So, one such is you have multiple clients which may be requesting for services from one or more servers. This is also applicable in today's scenario and context where we talk about cloud servicing, cloud as a service. So, there also this is important, and so queue is a very important structure that is used. Then some clients may have to wait while the service is busy, servers are busy. So, then you form a queue. Sometimes you have queues for different servers depending upon the application. Sometimes for all the servers put together you can have a queue, that depends on what the servers are meant for. So, the clients who are waiting will be placed in a queue and they will be serviced in the order of arrival. That is what we talk about. Example, grocery stores, banks, airport queues, these are everyday applications of this client server models, though they are not called client server, it is a servicing model. Now, let us take the first example of a printing job management. So, we are assuming that the printing jobs are coming one by one and they are being serviced in the order in which they come. So, many users will send their printing jobs to the public printer. It is a public common printer available. You would have seen in many departments you have a printer meant for all the research, network printer meant for all the research scholars, and they will be printing it the jobs in the public printer. So, printer will put them on a queue according to the arrival time and print the jobs one by one when the printer becomes free for printing. So, that is what they do. So, let us assume the documents that come in are A.doc, B.doc, C.doc and D.doc. We will just see how this is simulated. So, here we have the documents are coming, first A.doc, B.doc and C.doc are arriving, okay. D has not yet come. So, what we do here is we use a queue to NQA, NQB.doc and NQC.doc. So, that is what we do. So, the queue now contains A has come in first, B has come in next and C has come in. So, the 3 documents are there in the queue. Now, because A is in front of the queue, it is printing A first and then A is finished, let us assume. When A is finished, it has to be removed from the queue. I will talk about the queue operations a little later. So, what happens now, we have B and C. Before we have B and C, we have DQA because A is finished. A is finished and so we DQA, and now the queue is like having only B and C. Now, what happens? B is printing, it is printing B, and now what happens? D arrives in the middle. So, while it is printing B, D arrives. When D arrives, what you have to do? You have to NQD. So, that is what we do, we NQD, and the queue will now look like B, C and D. Now, what happens? B finishes. Okay, now it is still, when D arrives, still printing B. After some time, B is finished. When B is finished, what you will have to do? You have to DQ B, and now the queue looks like C and D. So, that is what will happen. Now, what happens? After some time, now it is printing C. After some time, C is finished. When C is finished, it is DQ'd, and the queue contains only D. Okay. So, that is what happens, and now it is printing D. After some time, what will happen? D will finish and D will be removed. So, you can see that what are the operations of the queue. From the queue ADT viewpoint, what happens? What happens is we have a set of course, create an empty queue. Then as elements come, they are enqueued into the queue. So, that is the first blue color operation that we saw there, NQA, NQB and NQC. Now, what happens when whatever is it is understood that you need a front operation, because you want to take the front element and do the printing operation. So, that front, accessing the front of the queue, you do not dequeue in, then you just access it. So, that is the front queue. We have seen that when we were talking about the ADT queue. Then we have, after it is finished, we have a DQ operation. When it arrives, we have a NQ operation. So, create queue, NQ, DQ and front. These are the operations that you will need for this, but implement this printing queue. So, now let us look at another example, customer service at State Bank of India. Let us look at this. Now, what happens? One service, customer service is coming in, and this is in the State Bank of India. So, let us assume that every 3 minutes a new customer, this is an assumption we are making, that every 3 minutes a new customer arrives and will be put and will stand at the end of the queue on the waiting line. Each customer, we are assuming, all these are assumptions, this is actually every 3 minutes, every 5 minutes it will not happen, but we are assuming that it is needed, 5 minutes is needed for the service to happen. Okay. So, every customer on an average will take 5 minutes, and then we will assume that printing out the information, we want what is the state of the queue and what has happened after the first 30 minutes. This is also an assumption we are making. So, the time of arriving and leaving, we want the following information. We want the time of arriving and leaving for each customer, that is what is the turnaround time for each customer in a bank. Very interested, people will be, bank management will be interested in this information. Then how many customers are on the line, this is also the bank will be very interested, when to open a new counter, and who is the current serving customer. So, that is just information that we want, and so let us look at the customer service queue. So, create a new queue, that is the first thing you have to do. So, that is what you will do. Then initialize the parameters, all the parameters are initialized to null or 0. So, what are the parameters we are going to use? Time, incoming customer and service time. These are the 3 parameters we are going to use. Here we are going to explain this with the algorithm and not a simulation. And servicing customers, they are serviced one by one by taking it out of the queue, and at that point of time another customer should have been completed his transaction. So, so putting customers in the queue as they arrive and servicing customers one by one from the queue, these are 2 operations, and we want to print the status after 30 minutes. So, this is what we are going to do. So, how do we do this? So, while time is less than 30, because we are doing operations, maybe we are printing the status after every 30 minutes. So, if queue is not empty, that means there is no customer on the queue. One customer service is working. So, that means one person at least is being serviced. So, how do you do that? To check whether there are people in the queue is empty queue, and then you increment the service time. So, while time is less than 30, increment it. Assume service time is 5 minutes, we have already told about that. So, after 5 minutes you dequeue the customer and print the deleted customer name and time of finishing. So, what we are doing here is we are looking at the queue. If the queue is empty, we are saying it is empty. If it is not empty, what are we doing? We are taking one person from the queue, and at what time you will take? Every 5 minutes, because we are assuming the service time or the transaction for the customer takes 5 minutes. So, every 5 minutes a customer is dequeued, whoever is in front of the queue obviously, and that customer is printed with the name and the time of finishing. Okay. And then you start the service time for the next customer. So, that is as soon as 5 minutes is over, that service time, that particular customer also will be deleted from the queue. Now, we will look at the other aspect. Every 3 minutes, this is about the queue, dequeuing of the queue. Now, every 3 minutes we are assuming a customer is coming in and we have to insert the customer into the queue. So, what do? We increment the incoming customer, that is the number of customers, we enqueue the customer. Okay. Then we print the customer name and time of entry. So, this is how do we do that? Courier. We do not eliminate that, we just use courier. So, courier will tell me what is the customer name and what is the time of arrival. So, that we get. Then we increment the time, every time you have to increment the time, and what will happen now? We will print the status after 30 minutes. So, this is what is happening. So, what are the operations that we do, ADT operations? We need, of course, we need a create queue, we need an isEmpty to check whether the queue is empty, we need a dequeue. When you do a dequeue, here we are assuming that the customer will come out. So, the name of the customer and also the time of finishing, which is available with that time count that you are keeping. The same time count is kept for everything. So, the time count is there, and you also have to start the service time for the next customer. So, these three operations are slightly different. Look at the ADT design has to be slightly different here. So, every time you do a dequeue, you have to do some other operations also. So, that also can be part of the ADT description. This is why we talk about ADT. Then we have the enqueue. So, enqueue is when you are doing an enqueue, you have to increment the incoming customer and you have to print the customer name, and that is using courier, the customer name and the time of entry, and you have to increment time. After 30 minutes, what is the information we need? You remember, time of arrival and time of finishing for each customer we need. How many customers on the queue we need, which you can always find out, rear minus front or whatever way you implement it, does not matter. And we also need what is the average time taken per customer. So, this is what we do for customer service queue. Here we are assuming things, we are assuming 5 minutes, we are assuming every 3 minutes, which is not true. So, it will change. So, now print line status, if the queue size is equal to 0, indicates the number of customers, which I have already told, and the current serving customer also we need, which is given by queue front. So, almost all the operations we are using along with some parameter increments that we do for the particular application. So, this is if there is a queue size is 0, it means there are no waiting customers, which is very good. Okay. So, for this the queue ADT, create queue, enqueue, dequeue, isEmpty, queue front, courier. These are the main operations that we will be using, along with some parameter increment that we spoke about. Queue size also, queue size will tell you whether number of customers. This can be implemented directly because we need it every time, or it can be used by calculated at that point of time using queue front and courier. Okay. This is the queue application, the breadth first search, and we are going to do a complete simulation of the breadth first search. You remember that up to now we saw 3 applications, which was one was the print job management, then customer service in a bank application, and then we saw round robin. All the 3 were servicing of providing services to a customer or to a print job and so on, where you want to service the jobs or the customer in the order in which he comes, first in first out. Now, we are going to look at 2 different applications of queues, which we said that we could divide it into 2 types, and this is the buffer type of application, where the queue is used as a buffer in the breadth first search. As you know the definition of breadth first search, what do? We start with the starting node and process all the children of that node before we go to the next level. So, that is why we are going to talk about levels also. Here we have used a color code. The pinkish orange stands for undiscovered nodes, the red stands for discovered, blue stands for whatever node is in the front of the queue, and green stands for finished nodes. So, when all the nodes are finished, we have finished the breadth first search. Now, initially to start off, all the nodes are undiscovered. We have not seen the nodes, we are just starting the algorithm. Okay. So, we go to the next thing. when we do this, what we do is we start a queue. Now remember, we are not talking about breadth first search, we are talking about ADT queue for the implementation of breadth first search. So, we have a queue into which we put a start node from which we want to start the breadth first search. If it is a tree, the start node would have been the root, but here we are looking at a graph, a generic breadth first search. So, for that reason we have to designate from where we want to start the breadth first search, and so specifically designated that start node, and in that start node we put in the queue. So, as you can see that the queue, the S node has changed the color to blue because it is in the front of the queue, and we are at level 0. So, that is the first. Now, also we are talking about the first child of S, which is the node 2, and that node 2 is given red to say that we have just discovered the first child. So, we start processing the source node and we go to the first neighbor of the source node. Here I say neighbor to say that there is a link as a child of, we do not say child because it is a graph. So, neighbor of neighbor which is 2 for the source node. Now, what we do, this is level 0. Now, what do we do? The next stage we process, that is we go from S to 2. Now, we are at the second level because we have started with 0, we are in the next level. So, we start processing the node 2 and node 2 becomes discovered. S is still in the front of the queue, so it remains blue, and the 2 we have discovered. Okay. Now, we go to the next process. What do? We have to process the node. So, what do? Is we go to 2, we go to 2 and we put 2 in the queue at the rear of the queue, and we are now at level 1. So, node 2 is inserted into the queue and we go to the next neighbor. We do not process 2, that is the difference between breadth first and depth first. We do not process 2, we go to the next neighbor of S. So, what is the next neighbor of S, which is 3. So, we go to the next neighbor of S, which is 3, and 3 becomes now discovered. So, now 2 has been discovered and 3 has been discovered, both are neighbors of the source node S. Now, you have to keep on doing this till there are no more neighbors of S directly. So, of course, this is a directed graph. So, when I say neighbor, it means from the node to the destination node. So, the next node we process is, next neighbor is 5. So, we have to process 5. So, what do? We put 5, meanwhile what has happened is 3 is a child. So, we insert 3 into the queue and then we go to the next neighbor 5. So, now what happens? 5 is discovered. So, 5 becomes red, and that is the S. Now, what happens? Now, we have to insert 5 into the queue. Incidentally, now all the nodes of S have been completed. We have 3 neighbors of S, 2, 3 and 5. All the 3 have been completed, which means that S has finished. Okay, and node 5 is implemented as before, I mean inserted into the queue as before, and all the neighbors of S has completed. So, we delete S from the queue. As you can see, the queue is now does not contain S, and S is marked as finished, which is why it becomes green. Now, what is the next node that we have to process? We will see. Now, what happens? Now, we are at level 2, we finish 0 and we finish 1. So, what do? We now you see that 2 is in front of the queue, which is blue, why it is blue in color, and we have to start processing node 2. So, what do? Which is in front of the queue? We go to its first neighbor, which is the neighbor 4. So, what do? We go to 4 and that becomes discovered. Now, we are at level 2, remember. So, now 4 has become a discovered node, and what do we have to do in the next step? We have to put 4 on top of, I mean in the rear of the queue, which we do. So, node 4 is inserted into the queue and we go to the next neighbor 5 of 2. Remember the next neighbor of 2, which is 5. We have to process all the nodes of 2. Now, we have 2 has only 2 neighbors, 4 and 5. 4 we have finished processing, but now we have to go to the next neighbor 5. Now, what happens? 5 has already been discovered, okay, because it is already in red. So, we do not enqueue it. Previously, up to now, whenever we see a new node and it is discovered, we put it at the rear of the queue. Here we do not do that because 5 has already been discovered and is already in the queue. So, we do not do any enqueuing. Okay. So, that is what we said, already discovered. So, we do not insert it again. Now, what happens? 2's neighbors are over. So, all neighbors of 2 have completed. So, we delete 2 from the queue. So, that is what we have done here. So, now up to this point 0 is over, or S is over, 2 is over. Now, we have to take the element in the front of the queue, which is 3. So, start processing node 3, which is in front of the queue, and we go to its neighbor. So, what are the neighbors of 3? 3's neighbors are 5 and 6. So, we first take the neighbor 5. Now, when you take the neighbor 5, what happens? Neighbor 5 is already been discovered. Okay. So, we do not insert it. So, we go to 3's next neighbor, which is 6. So, we go to 3's next neighbor 6, and what happens? Node 6 is inserted in the queue. Why it is not? It has been discovered for the first time and it is marked as discovered. Now, if you look at this, 3 is all the neighbors of 3 is over. So, 5 and 6 were the neighbors, that is over, which means 3 has completed, and so 3 is marked as finished, marked as 3, and it is deleted from the queue. Okay. So, now we have finished 3 nodes S, 2 and 3, and we are at level 2 now. Now, we have to take the front element of the queue, which is 5. So, we take the front element, start processing that element, that is why it is put as blue, because it is in front of the queue, and we have to go to its neighbor. So, its neighbors are, it has only neighbor 6, it has only one neighbor, which is 6. So, what do? It is discovered. We go to 6, but 6 is already been discovered. So, we do not have to insert it. 6 already discovered, so we do not insert it. Now, all the neighbors of 5 is over, because 5 has only one neighbor 6. So, what do we do here? 5 is marked as finished. So, now we have finished 0 at level 0, I mean S at level 0, 2, 3 and 5 at level 1, and we are still processing. Now, when we the queue, now we have an element. So, what is in front of the queue? 4. So, we go there. So, start processing node 4, which changes to blue, saying that it is in front of the queue, and go to its neighbor. What are its neighbors? 4's neighbors are 5 and 8, okay, 5 and 8. So, what do we have to do? We first go to 5. Now, 5 is already, we go to 5, but 5 is finished. Now, you note that 5 is finished, or 5 has been already discovered, we do not put it in the queue. So, 5 already discovered, so we do not insert it. In this case, it is not only discovered, it is also finished. So, we go to 4's next neighbor, which is 8. So, we go to 4's next neighbor, which is 8, and that becomes discovered. Okay. Now, we have finished. 4 has only 2 neighbors, 5 and 8. So, that is over. So, node 8 is inserted in the queue, all neighbors of 4 is finished. So, we delete 4 from the queue and change it to green, saying that it is finished. Now, we have finished one node in level 2. Okay. Now, what is on top of the queue? 6. So, we will mark it as it being on top of the node, and start processing node 6, which is in front of the queue, and go to its first neighbor 7. Now, 6 has 2 neighbors 7 and 9. So, we go to its first neighbor 7, and 7 becomes discovered. When you discover 7 newly, what happens? It has to be inserted in the queue. So, that is done. Now, only we are in level 3. When we go to node 7, it becomes level 3. And node 7 is inserted in the queue, and we will have to go to the next neighbor if it exists, and if it is not discovered or finished. That is what we have seen up to now. So, 6, we go to the next neighbor, which is 9, and 9 is also at level 3, and it becomes discovered. So, when you discover that, what happens? You have to put it in at the rear of the queue. So, you do that. So, now we are at level 3, node 9 is inserted into the queue. Now, all the neighbors 6 are over. So, 6 is now finished. So, it changes to green. So, we have finished S at level 1, 2, 3 and 6, 5 at level 1, S at level 0, and 4 and 6 at level 2. That is what we finished. Now, what is in front of the queue? 8 is in front of the queue. So, what do we have to do? We have to start processing node 8, which is in front of the queue, but it has no neighbors. It has no neighbors at all as per the graph itself. So, we just delete 8 from the queue, we do not have to do any processing, but we have to mark it as finished. So, that is why this does not have 8 in front of the queue. Okay. Now, what is in front of the queue? 7. Okay. So, we have to start processing 7, and which is in front of the queue, and go to its neighbor. First neighbor is 4, but 4 is already over, we have finished it. So, we do not do anything. Next, we have to go to already discovered, and then we have to go to the next neighbor of 7, which is 5, that is also already discovered. So, we do not do anything. Okay. And then we have to go to its next neighbor, which is 8. Okay. So, we go to 8, but 8 is also already discovered or finished. So, we do not insert it. Now, all neighbors of 7 is over. So, we completed as 3. This is the first node that has 8 and 7 are at level 3, which we have finished. We delete it from the queue. Now, what happens? The only node left in the queue is 9. So, start processing node 9. Now node 9 we go to its neighbor which is 7, but 7 is already finished, so we do not have to do anything, and we go to the next neighbor which is 8, which is again already finished, so we do not have to do anything. So at this point we do not insert anything. So all the neighbors of 9 are over, so we remove 9 from the queue, and so what happens at this point is we have finished processing all the nodes. So this is the way breadth first search is done. So what have we, as far as the ADT queue is concerned, what have we done? We just keep on inserting elements into the queue and we keep deleting elements. Now the important thing is, how do we do this insertion? If the node go to a new neighbor, it is not discovered or not finished, you put it at the rear of the queue. Whatever after processing everything and you do, you delete elements from the front of the queue and you insert elements at the back of the queue. So that is the usual operation that we do. This is a very interesting application of breadth first search. Now we use the queues for coding messages, change how much a letter is shifted depending upon where the letter is in the message. This is a very different coding messages operation. So this is for this we use a queue. It is called a repeating key. It is a sequence of integers that determine how much each character is shifted. So we will see this example. Suppose you have the repeating key 317425. The first character in the message is shifted by 3, the next character is shifted by 1, the next by 7 and so on. So this is called as repeating key, and this is called as how it is shifted. So when the key is exhausted, that is, then you start all over again from 3. So you first do 3, then 1 shift, then 7 shift, then 4 shift, then 2 shift, then 5 shift, then 3 again. So this is how it is done, and this is an example of a encoded message using a repeated key. Now look at this, the key, so you have here 1A. So what we do here is this is the encoded message, this is the decoded message, this is just alphabets A, B, C, D to Z and the numbers of that. This is not any, this part of the message is not anything different, it is just the alphabets 26 and that. So here is the encoded message, here is the key 317245, 3177 3174. So this is the message. So n has to be shifted 3. So n here, where is it? N has to be shifted by 3 places. Okay. So it becomes k, 3 places back. So it becomes k. Then O has to be shifted 1. So O is shifted to n here, and then V shifted 7 to O, A shifted 4 to W, shift is backwards, it could have been forwards also. Like this the shifting is done, and this is a very interesting application of queue. For doing this, the 317425 is put in a queue and it is done. So this is we can use a queue to store the values of the key, dequeue a key value when needed. After using it, you encode it again. Queue represents the constantly cycling values in the key, and you need 2 copies, one as encoder and one as decoder, 2 separate queues. Okay. So in this particular module, we have discussed the different applications of queue. We have divided the applications into 2 types of application, customer service and buffering, and we have explained the customer service using printing jobs, customer service and round robin, where printing jobs and round robin are typical computing applications, while customer service is general, for any application itself you can use it. And we explained the simulation, with simulation the use of queues for breadth first search, and we also used queues for the encoding. So with this we finish the applications of queues. Thank you.